back to the Daily Grind. Thanks for checking out the channel. Make sure to hit subscribe if you're new and hit thumbs up if you're not a baby back pickle biting bitch boy, cause you know what time it is. It's full time.
MMA.
I've got to start this video off by saying happy Thanksgiving to the entire full-time family and everybody listening to this video. You know today is all about that cake and turkey. It's all about that cake and turkey. You know what the fuck I'm talking about. And there's no better way to spend today than with your family, with the full-time family. And what a better way to get started than with the video on Daniel Cormier himself. That cringe, he's bringing it back out. Daniel Cormier brought out the cringe on Twitter when he revealed that Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Tony Ferguson has been offered for UFC 219. But according to Daniel Cormier, Tony Ferguson hasn't accepted, and Daniel Cormier saying, "That ain't gangsta, bruh." Listen to what Daniel Cormier had to say. "So I walk into the gym today and Khabib Nurmagomedov walks up and says the UFC's wanting to make me versus Tony Ferguson for December 30th. Then he tells me that Tony is saying no to the fight. Come on, Tony, that ain't gangsta, bruh. Take the fight, man. Hold this L." Alright, he didn't say hold this L, but I had to try and save it. This dude said, "That ain't gangsta, bruh." Oh my lord, there's so much things I could talk about with that right there, but we ain't gonna nitpick. We know Daniel Cormier's just bringing out that cringe. But this is interesting. This is very interesting because he's saying it's not gangster for Tony Ferguson to take the fight. Now, let's just throw that out here because I don't think neither Tony Ferguson nor Daniel Cormier would consider themselves gangstas. So who gives a fuck if that ain't gangsta? But I'll tell you what it is for Tony Ferguson to say no to the fight. It's smart. You know why? Because right now Tony Ferguson is the current interim champion, the lightweight interim champion. You know what the interim champion, you know who they're supposed to fight? The fucking current lightweight champion. You know who the current lightweight champion is? I think you know where we're going. Conor McGregor. So right now Tony Ferguson's next fight should be versus Conor McGregor, which means it will be multi-million-dollar payday. So why would he just fight? You know, right now that interim belt is a fight Conor McGregor ticket. Why would he fight Khabib Nurmagomedov and, you know, risk that for what? Just to save the card? It's like, this fight, of course, I want this fight. I was wondering why the fuck is this fight not on the card? If Conor McGregor's getting punished and pulled off the card, Khabib, boom. Or not even this fight. It could be Nate Diaz versus Tony Ferguson. But it was going to be bad because it's like we ain't going to get Tony Ferguson now. We don't get Conor McGregor. We don't get Nate Diaz. We're not going to get Tyron Woodley. There's all these fighters that were lined up for this card that we could have had, you know, potentially another title fight, another huge fight. And Tony Ferguson could have been, you know, a big part of that. But, of course, he's not going to get on the card versus somebody not named Conor McGregor when he's got that interim title. So, what could the UFC do here to fix this situation? Well, if Conor McGregor just did these Bellator shenanigans and you're saying you're punishing him and taking him out of his title fight, I mean, it would kind of make sense, you know, to strip Conor McGregor. I mean, literally. Because if you think about it, Conor McGregor won his title at UFC 205 last year, you know, versus Eddie Alvarez. Since then, it's been months. It took months. He fought Floyd Mayweather in August. Since then, he hasn't returned to MMA. Conor McGregor's, you know, still doing his thug thizzle, whatever, spending his money. We don't know. But he's not coming back to MMA. He was allegedly going to be coming back to MMA December 30th until he jumped in the Bellator cage and pushed the ref and all of that crazy stuff that transpired that day. And then the UFC told the ABC, the UFC told the Association of Boxing Commissions that Conor McGregor's been pulled from his fight December 30th. Now, that takes, you know, that's a huge hit to this card. So the UFC's been trying to put together these crazy fights to save the card. You know, Tyron Woodley versus Nate Diaz didn't make any sense to us, but it was more of like a pay-per-view. You know, it was like, okay, if they're doing this fight, it's just to sell pay-per-views. Because no, to a hardcore MMA fan, Tyron Woodley versus Nate Diaz doesn't make much sense. But it would have been a big fight, and we definitely all would have tuned in, and it would have set up potential fights. It could have set up Tyron Woodley versus Nick Diaz, Tyron Woodley versus Conor McGregor. It would have made, you know, it would have made it would have made some sense in those ways. But now, Khabib versus Tony Ferguson, that's a fight we've almost seen. We've wanted to see, what, 2 separate times now it's got taken from us. I mean, would be a huge fight, great fight. But one thing about this is Khabib is already on that card versus Edson Barboza. Now, if they slid Tony Ferguson in, they would have to take Edson Barboza out of that fight and maybe get him another opponent, which honestly in 1 month that would be a lot of, you know, shaking up. Like, hey, all right, how about this, we're gonna move Khabib out of this fight to fight Tony Ferguson and then move another guy to plug him into the Edson fight. Like, that would be a lot. That I don't even know about that, honestly. But so Daniel Cormier and Khabib are kind of framing this thing as Tony Ferguson turning down the fight. But at this juncture, it doesn't make much sense for Tony Ferguson to take this Khabib fight unless he gets unless he's been saying defend or vacate, defend or vacate. If Conor McGregor vacates or gets stripped, then Tony Ferguson would jump in and save this card because he would be the undisputed lightweight champion. But there's no reason for him to jump in and save this card when he's got a Conor McGregor carrot dangling in front of him. Nate Diaz, how long has Nate Diaz been waiting, you know, for that Conor McGregor carrot? 2 years. Tony Ferguson's only on what, like 2 months now? I mean, so Tony Ferguson, as long as Conor McGregor's out, we can expect for Tony Ferguson and Nate Diaz and these guys to just be waiting out. This lightweight division to kind of just be stagnant, because now we've got a champion and an interim champion sitting out while we wait on Conor McGregor's punishment. Unless he vacates or gets stripped, we're going to have Tony Ferguson's literally going to be riding out this punishment with Conor McGregor. He's going to be suspended with Conor McGregor because he's not fighting anybody that's not named Conor McGregor until he gets stripped or vacates, because it wouldn't make sense. Now, that could happen. As I said, I mean, it's very possible that the UFC could strip Conor McGregor in the coming month, in the coming weeks. Who knows? I mean, there's multiple reasons. He's been inactive as a champion, even though he fought Floyd Mayweather and made all of that money. He didn't win his UFC championship. And, you know, it's going to be coming up on a month. And if he serves out this suspension, however long, if this suspension is 3 months, 4 months for the Bellator incident, then it'll be over a year since Conor McGregor won or defended his belt. Tony Ferguson, I mean, he's going to be waiting on that. So, I mean, it is what it is. There's more stuff to get to. It's Thanksgiving. Enjoy the food. Enjoy the fucking MMA content, I guess. Let the full-time family know what the fuck you tabbing at in the comments. And by the way, might as well let me know what's going down at your crib in Thanksgiving. You know, I'm sure y'all shit's going to be better than mine. But it is what it is, man. Let the full-time family know what the fuck you tabbing at in the comments. I'm out.
Da 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 da. It's the motherfucking DOWG.